Hello everybody, my name is Matthew Prosky, and today I'm going to be discussing if guns should be illegal in the United States. My objective here is to inform people who may never have had an opportunity to handle firearms, may not be familiar with the process for purchasing, owning, maintaining, and safely using firearms, in addition to the laws that pertain to using a firearm for self-defense. It is my stance that I do not believe firearms should be illegal in the United States, and I agree with a quote from the Concealed Carry of Illinois magazine that we need to make sure the public is thoroughly and properly educated and trained on current gun laws, and most importantly, how to defend themselves legally with firearms if they so choose. I think this ties greatly into a part of the debate on gun control that is often not considered, and I'll dive more into that here shortly. So a little bit about my background on the subject. I've served in the United States Air Force for a combined 5 years between active duty and the Arizona Air National Guard, and in that time I've had an annual requirement for weapons familiarization on pistols and rifles. So I've been trained on how to properly handle safely firearms, how to operate them, and on the outside, I've even pursued my Arizona concealed carry permit. And if you're not familiar, that is not a requirement in the state of Arizona in order to carry a firearm open or concealed, as we are a constitutional carry state. But by having the permit, I was able to get better education on the laws that pertain to self-defense, specifically in the state of Arizona. And I'm sure we're all familiar with the amount of scrutiny that the Second Amendment has been under in the United States, and it's nothing new. You can find articles going back to the 1950s, 1960s, talking about the same idea of banning guns and rallying them up in order to help protect the public, but I don't feel that's the right approach. The 3 states that are widely considered to be the most strict on gun control are California, New York, and Massachusetts. And to focus more on California and some of their laws, is California has a ban on any weapons magazine that has more than 10 rounds, where a standard pistol magazine, for example, could be 15 to 20 rounds depending on what size. There's a mandatory 10-day waiting period from when you file your paperwork to purchase a firearm until the day you can bring it home, where the federal requirement is only 4 days. In addition to that, California does not have a stand your ground law when it pertains to self-defense with a firearm. And if you're not familiar, the stand your ground law refers to if, say, somebody were to break into your house and that you feared for your life. In the state of California, you have a duty to retreat in your own home before you would be allowed to defend yourself and your family using a firearm. Where in many states, such as Arizona, with castle doctrine that is interchangeable with stand your ground, the moment that you fear for your life in your own home, you are justified to use a firearm and lethal force in order to defend yourself and your family. Now, on the flip side of that, Arizona is one of 29 states that allow constitutional carry, which is permitless open or concealed carry of a firearm. And I think one thing that both sides of the debate can agree on is that random acts of gun violence have gotten too high. We're not talking about lawful self-defense, but mass shootings, just unwarranted, unprovoked attacks using firearms is an issue. And it's often thought that by banning guns we can solve this problem, but all that does is stop lawful people from being able to lawfully obtain a firearm for lawful self-defense. And that takes away a lot of protections for people, their families, and their communities that I think are very important. Some of the biggest cases for not banning firearms are they have many other uses outside of self-defense. There's people who use them for hunting in order to provide food for their family, and by banning it, you're no longer allowing them that food source. And many people do depend on that with the rising cost of living. In addition to that, by protecting citizens. There simply are not enough law enforcement officers with firearms to be able to protect an entire city at a moment's notice. If you are no longer legally able to obtain a firearm for home defense, there's going to be many cases where police are not going to be able to respond to your home should you call before the random act of violence from somebody else could occur. In addition to that, the proper education being widespread would drastically decrease the number of suicides and accidental thefts and deaths that occur. Many of the statistics for gun violence are people committing suicide by getting access to a gun they did not themselves possess, children getting into an unsecured weapon and accidentally discharging it, hurting themselves or other people. And there's many cases like that happen because the proper education wasn't there for how to store a firearm safely. Another quote from the Department of Justice is that protection of oneself, one's loved ones, and one's home and community is the root of the American tradition of gun ownership. And the number of lawful people looking to protect themselves and their families and the people they care about should not be punished for the acts of people who look and seek to hurt others. It is my hope that those who may choose to take firearm training and better familiarize themselves with the laws and the safety that goes into firearm handling, whether or not they choose to possess one themselves, just having that education and training can better protect the people around you, the people you care about and love, and all together create safer communities. Thank you for listening.